In this episode, I'm going to tell you about the 3 mistakes that I made when I started my consulting business, and one of them in particular is one that you may be about to make, or if you've been in business for a long time, about to spend even more money on. Welcome to Your Consulting Business. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 40. That's right, episode 40. We are moving along at a pace of knots. All right, so today I want to talk about mistakes that you could be making if you're moving into a consulting business or moving in your consulting business. So you may be stepping out of a corporate opportunity to actually start your own practice. You may be stepping from a service business to actually move into an advisory role and get paid for that strategic advice that you've probably been giving away for free. Or you could actually be moving, as I said before, between one sector or industry to a new one. Now, any of those scenarios may find you in a situation where you feel you need to have authority to be able to actually start working in this space. Now, if you're watching this video, it's very likely, especially if you're moving into a consulting space, that you already have expertise, you have experience, you have systems, processes, you have knowledge, right? You have certifications. You're a smart individual. Right? It's the reason why people are interested in your advice, and it's probably the reason why you feel confident enough to take that next step, which means that you don't need any more authority. You don't need to show off your authority. The moment you actually get into a conversation with the right person, as long as you ask the right questions, they will recognize that you are the person that has the smarts around the particular problem they're experiencing. Now, it's assuming you have a system that helps you engage the right quality people. If you are looking for a system, you can always go to russellpearsonprograms.com and you can get our How to Get Client Retainers Fast Guide, which actually identifies some of the steps that you would want to put in place in your business. It's in the show notes as well. But let's talk about the three mistakes that I certainly made when I started my business. One of them in particular is like the biggest mistake. And I regret it, but it's also a really great lesson to me that has enabled me to now have the consulting business that I have and understand what is important in the running of that consulting business. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is one that you're probably about to spend a bunch of money on, and that is a website. So I want to stop you right there. Whether you are about to start having your first website or about to build a new website, or if you're through the middle of the website and you've already paid the money, maybe maybe just take a deep breath, go through the exercise. It's okay to have a website, but the reality is you don't need a website. Some of the most well-paid, well-respected consultants that I know do not have a website. They are found by their reputation. They are found by referrals. People seek them out. They're not. You don't necessarily want to be in a situation as a consultant where you're being judged about your quality of your consulting before someone's actually worked with you. They haven't received any of it. Ideally, you want to be in a position to audition clients by identifying, number one, can you actually help them? Right? Because you don't want to work with somebody that you can't help. It should be like a fair value exchange. We're not just talking at people here. We're helping them solve problems, ideally transformational problems. Can we do that? Number two is, do they need help? Do they want help? Do they identify that they have a challenge that they can't overcome and they are looking for support, advice, or guidance with that? Number two. And number three is the priority to do something about it now? Because if it's not now, you end up chasing people, and you definitely don't want to be in a chase situation with a prospect, because you will lose your opportunity to be their mentor. Suddenly you're a service provider. You've fallen into that category. That's not the category you need to be in. We want to be in a space of giving value and people recognizing that value and coming and asking us for that value. So a website is just a way of proving your authority. And so there's absolutely no reason to have it there, especially when you understand that the only way someone can find your website is if you spend a lot of money on advertising or on search engine optimization, which is all going very differently and pear-shaped over the last 10 years about how to get the minuscule space left on Google Organic without paying for it or being a local service. Websites are an address on a poor street somewhere in a back alley. All right. So if you're building a website, it's not about the website. It's about being found. it would be far better to spend money on an association membership of the association of people you want to work with and go and spend time with them rather than spend probably even more money, even thousands of dollars to build a website up, only to have a tumbleweed blow through it now and then and people not being able to find it. Okay, so a website is definitely not the place that you should be spending money up front. Definitely an idea to do it later down the track. Ideally, if it becomes a central part of your business, maybe your programs or educational elements are on that website, it's a great place to house things. But until you are 100% clear of what you're productizing in your business, and I would never recommend that people productize the first year that they actually get into consulting. They need to understand the language of their customer. They understand what's going on in their mind before they go and create a product. They really want to have done it probably 100 times tailored before realizing, actually, there is a really simple system here. I'll start to productize that. If you're spending years productizing your offering and then deciding to go to the market, you're going to hear crickets. There's going to be no one there when you're ready to sell. There's not going to be anyone ready to buy. So make the product with the clients. I think that is a far better way to do it than the other. So websites. You don't need a website straight away. In fact, LinkedIn and a LinkedIn profile will do you just fine. And if this is way out in the future and LinkedIn doesn't exist anymore, there is another professional network somewhere where you can actually put up a listing that has your contact details if people need to find you or get in touch. Because that's the only reason at the start that a website makes sense, because you're already authority and you don't need to prove anything. Number 2, this is the thing that was probably the biggest mistake that I made when I started my business, which was to buy a big desk. So I've got a big wooden desk with a vinyl inlay. It could be a leather inlay, I'm not even sure. But it's lovely, and I spent good money on it, and I got it. I'm like, look at me, I am the consultant. Look at how consulting I am behind my big desk. And the reality is, I didn't need that desk. I didn't need that desk when I had an office space. There was no need to have a desk like that, but just some big desk that I could sit behind. And yes, I would have meetings across that desk, but I could have had meetings across any desk. In fact, now this time in this is 2023 right now, and right now you don't need an office. In fact, that was one of the big expenses that I spent up early, was the office and the desk. Those two things together you don't need. More often than not, a consultant can actually either engage with someone online through a video format, very much like you're viewing me now or listening to me now. And the other space that they are going to be is with the clients. Now, where is that? It's often at the client's premises, or it's somewhere else. Like, there are so many places that you can have a meeting when it's about expertise and it's about listening to your client, where it's about speaking small amounts to your client to actually help guide them forward. It's much more about listening than it is about speaking. So remember that as a new consultant. You don't need to prove yourself by just talking at them. Listening to them and then asking great questions is certainly the way to be an advisor. But you don't need that office space. You certainly don't need amazing furniture. So over time, if you are building a business which is a profitable enterprise that runs without you, aka you're not the person that's going to be client facing, you've got a team for that, you've got employees, you've got managers in place, that's the time to have premises. That's the time to spend money on furniture and the like, because it makes the environment of your team better functioning and easier to work in. So as a solo consultant, though, you can work anywhere. You know, if you can have good Wi-Fi, some of the best, I have had consulting gigs on the top of mountains because I've found places to get amazing Wi-Fi connection, and it has enabled me to have a great meeting, to actually close clients from that mountain and then just spend the rest of my day hiking. How cool is the lifestyle of a consultant? You don't need all these things. So we don't need a website, we don't need an office space, and we certainly don't need a big desk. And here's the final one, and this is interesting because I used to come from the design space. I was in advertising. I'm a trained graphic designer years ago. It's nearly 30 years ago. Can't believe it's even that far. But I was very in love with the concept of business cards. Business cards were something beautiful, and you could put a lot into a business card. And if you've ever seen American Psycho, you can there's the scene around the business card scene, which is beautiful. And if you haven't seen that, go and see that, especially if you're from the corporate world. You're going to laugh at the meme that this thing is. But business cards are not something that you really need anymore. What were they used in the past for? They were used to share your contact details. All right. But we are now living in a digital world. We don't need to share contact details that way. We can just get the name of a person and click and connect with them on something like LinkedIn or some other social platform. Or you can actually pick up your phone now. This one's a little bit smashed at the moment, but you can pick up your phone and you can tap your phone with other people and share the contact details. Now, some people of the old school, and I do like this, so this is what I do at networking functions, is they'll take a business card and they'll put it in their right pocket if this is a person they want to follow up, and they'll put the business card in their left pocket. But what's interesting about that is they're taking business cards. They're not giving business cards. Anytime you give someone a business card, you're giving the control of the conversation to them. They walk away from the conversation. They forgot what they were talking about. They never give you a call. It's so much more powerful to receive business cards, put them in your right pocket if it's the right person, and then follow that person up after the networking function to look at if it's worth having next steps. All right. So websites, you don't need them. They're just for a way for people to get your contact details. Any listing anywhere is an easy way for people to get your contact details, especially with search online these days. If you put that person's name in, consultant, whatever it is, they're going to come up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's got incredible at their search engine optimization. And so you need to be better at them if you're going to get your website to show up even higher than that. And for most people, if they're already searching your name, you don't need it. Okay. If someone is looking for a consultant locality, then they're just looking for a local consultant. There's only a very small amount of people locally who are going to engage with you. It is so much better to engage with someone about their specific problems than just their locality. If you can get more specific with what you offer, you're going to be able to create more and more and more success for your clients because you are really focusing in on delivering specific outcomes. So websites, you don't need them. Office space, you definitely don't need it, and you don't need some big corporate looking desk. I've still got that desk, I have to say. I kept it over there, and I keep it over there as a reminder that I don't need it. In fact, I don't work at it anymore. I work at a cheap desk in a different room because this one's too big and heavy to move around, which is ridiculous. Okay, so you don't need that. You don't need the office space. You don't need a big desk. You don't even need fancy chairs. I've spent money on some really good chairs over the years, and you can't give them away later on down the track. And certainly you don't need business cards in this day and age. There is something nice about having a business card. I am a traditionalist in that way. I do like the feel of a business card, but the reality of their function is that if you are giving business cards, it is very unlikely that you're going to be able to move that person proactively through any sort of pipeline, any sort of process that you want to move them through. You're really putting the responsibility and ownership onto the client. The better opportunity is to receive cards, and if you don't want to be, following them up, put it in your left pocket. If you're following them up, put them in your right. And I apologize for anybody that I meet in the future that actually pays attention to where I put their business card. If you're interested in getting retainers, and you might be because you're interested in running a consulting business, then go to russellpearsonprograms.com and you can download our free guide on how to get those retainers, client retainers, fast. That's in the show notes as well. The other thing that we do, ideally, it's really for expertise businesses. So if you run an e-commerce business or a product business or a retail business, this really isn't for you. But if you run a business that runs on your expertise, if you're a consultant, if you're an advisor, if you run a specialist service, then the program that we run called The Forge may actually be great for you. Why is it called The Forge? Because I'm a blacksmith. When I'm not doing this stuff, when I'm not using my brain, I am actually out there in the forge, in the workshop, moving metal and working with fire. And so I love everything to do with blacksmithing and forging and all that sort of stuff. And funnily enough, the analogy of it fits really neatly into the world of transformation when it comes to business. How do I actually take something as a raw material, say something like steel, for instance, and how do I shape that, heat it up to a critical temperature to allow it to shape easily, to transform it into something that becomes really useful? What's the process I put it through to quench it and solidify it and make it hard, and the tempering process to make it flexible, yeah, and adaptable as it needs to be as the environment changes? How do you do that? Well, that's what we do inside the Forge. And in essence, we help people get clients. We help them move to a place where they get consistent clients through their pipeline and then be able to build a business, if they want, that runs without them. So that's the Forge. If you're interested in that, you can connect with me in just about any place possible. It's Russell Pearson, double S, double L, the way Russell should be spelled. So these are the mistakes. Websites, you don't need it necessarily. Most websites are for vanity, unless it's to help you fulfill for clients. Maybe you have some education there. Maybe you have a program sitting on there. Those are useful. You've got to have a place to actually hold that. But there are places you can put that don't cost you a lot of money. But it's not about money. It's just that you don't need it. It's waste. It's wasteful. And it's the wasteful focus that actually gets me. People spending time, so much time, developing products, developing websites, developing brands before they've actually gone and helped anybody through their own business. Your job as a consultant to start is help people make steps, right? Help guide people to take those steps. And the first step is, if they have the problem that you can help them with, if they're aware that they want help, if they have a priority to take the help, then to take that first step, which is to work with you. So that is the first step for you as a consultant, is to learn how to help people take those steps. Because the reality, as a consultant, there'll be certain different responsibilities that you'll take on. For some people, it'll be actually helping them with something in their life, which could be actually quite dramatic. For others, it'll be helping them in their business, right? And so by giving them little snippets of information, often you're not helping them in transform in the way that they need to. And often you're giving them something that they can't work with because you're not ready to work with them. And they'll go off and they'll do it wrong. They'll mess it up and they'll blame you for it, which, the reality is you should be blamed if you're letting people walk away. Your job is to help people in the best possible way you can. If it's not you that should be helping them, refer them to somebody that can. If you are the person to help them, and make sure that you are able to help them take the steps to enable you to help them. That's the focus for where your business should be. Not on a website, not on offices, not on desks, and certainly not on business cards. So if you're spending a lot of time doing all those things, you are wasting time instead of doing the thing that you need to become very good at first, which is engaging with someone who needs your help and helping them take steps. Until next time, my name is Russell Pearson. Absolutely stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.